Hey, today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do your own DIY, but accurate and awesome alignment at home. I've got some stuff, some supplies. I've got some wood, some acrylic, some other stuff to make the stuff I need in order to do the alignment, like toe plates, blocks to lift the car off the ground. We're gonna go ahead and build that stuff, and then we're going to use it to align the blue Miata for its first drift event. It's got a track alignment on it right now, and we don't want that for drifting. I ended up spending more money on all these supplies than I would have just taken the car to like a Firestone to get it aligned. But here's the thing. Number one, I've heard some bad stories about Firestone. I've never had a bad experience myself, but I don't really want to risk it. Number two, I like doing stuff myself. Number three, an alignment is something that you kind of want to be able to tweak and like change every event until you get the perfect alignment, and I don't want to take the car to a Firestone numerous times. I don't think there's much else to say besides that. I'm gonna go ahead and get started by making these blocks of wood. Before this video gets too far, Gingium from the future wants to clarify a couple things. I want to clarify what we are going to do in terms of modifications to make the blue Miata drift better. A lot of people are saying, hey, you should install an angle kit, you should install a hydro, you should get a welded diff, you should get good. I have to keep saying this, but Molly, she's not a drift car. She's a track car daily driver that I'm drifting. With that being said, I don't want to do any really crazy drift specific mods. We are, however, going to be installing an angle kit because angle helps with everything. It helps with daily driving, it helps with track driving. It'll give the car a quicker steering ratio, which essentially is like turning up the sensitivity in a video game. We are not installing a hydro because in order to do that, you have to cut up the interior. I don't want to cut up the interior of that beautiful car. I've also heard that if you learn to drift with a hydro, then you get some bad habits. I don't want that. And lastly, we are not going to be putting a welded diff in the car. As you guys saw from the drift event video, this LSD is awesome. I don't think it one wheel peeled a single time. And yes, I have to get used to the fact that it opens up on decel, but as long as I stay on throttle during transitions and whatnot, it's fine. Those are just some things I wanted to clarify. I've been seeing hundreds and hundreds of those comments like, hey, install this, install that, install this. That's what we're doing. Final, nothing, no ifs, ands, and buts, and but. Let's get back to aligning this car. We made these so the car can sit suspension compressed above the ground. That way we don't have to put it on the lift and keep going up and down. We can just leave it and adjust it. They should be plenty strong. I don't know why they wouldn't be. They only have to hold like 600 pounds each. Before we use these and start aligning the car, we have to make turn plates. Let me just build them and then show you what they do. Using a laser protractor, I measured every 5 degrees, starting with 10. When we put this top piece on, you'll see we'll be able to measure 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 degrees of steering angle in either direction. See, now you can measure, oh, that's 10 degrees. Oh yeah, much better. There we go. All right, so everything we need to do a DIY alignment is done. We got our wooden little blocks to raise the car up. We got our turn plates, so the front wheels can turn, so we can measure caster and some other things. And then we also have our toe and camber plates. Everything was super easy to make, relatively cheap. I wanted to go ahead and align the blue car now, obviously, but sadly, I ran out of time. So I'm gonna come back and finish it after the event. I'll see you guys after the event. And we're back. Drift event yesterday was awesome. So much fun. The Miata did great. Everything worked out. Molly's a dirty girl now. She's quite muddy. So we're going to go ahead, take her to the car wash real quick, wash it, and then align it. We had a slight issue. One of the axles kind of popped off from where it goes into the diff, and then proceeded to spray diff fluid all over the underside of my car. I don't know when it happened during the event. I hope it happened towards the end. Otherwise, I was drifting my car without fluid in the differential, which obviously is not good. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that quickly. Diff fluid literally makes me gag. Like, I'm about to throw up here. Ugh. All right, so the car is on our wooden blocks. We got our toe plates set up, and we are ready to start doing an alignment. We're gonna start off in the rear. We're gonna start off by correcting camber, then correcting toe. Then we will move to the front, correct camber, correct caster, and correct toe. Ideally, I would have some jack stands set up with string going down the line of the car so we can make sure that the rear wheels are pointing straight when we're done correcting for toe. Because if you do it wrong, your car might crab walk. Thankfully though, right now we already have exactly 0 degrees of toe in the rear, and the car drives perfectly straight. So as long as I don't mess with toe, we should be good. I want 0 degrees of toe in the rear. Some drifters run a little bit of toe in on the rear, like 1/8 of an inch. That helps with forward grip, but this car already has a lot of grip, so don't need any more of that. I've also heard of some people running some toe out, which helps make the rear end a little bit less traction-y, but I've also heard that running toe out makes it a little bit twitchy, and I don't want that. The Miata, it's already kind of twitchy in drift, short wheelbase. I've got this tool to measure for camber. It's a digital level. Right now we have about 3 degrees of negative camber on this side and about 3.5 degrees of negative camber on the other side. I don't want any negative camber. We want to make that 0. Getting rid of the negative camber will help with tire wear. I'm going to be careful not to mess with toe, so we'll adjust both of the alignment bolts evenly on the front and the rear of the control arms, and we should be good. So that is before. Still have some negative camber. I'm finished adjusting the rear. We ended up with around -2 degrees of camber and 0 degrees of toe out. Still wish we could get down to 0 degrees of camber. But honestly, if we got rid of all the camber, I don't think we'd fit these tires anyway. I think we'd start rubbing, so a little bit of camber will be fine. It's whatever. I also went ahead and marked all the eccentric cams with some paint, so I know if they move on track, and then I can easily put it back to the alignment that it is now. Let's go ahead and move up to the front now that this rear is all done. Axel. Hi. So, up front we have 0 degrees of tow. We've got 2 degrees of negative camber on this side and 1.2 degrees of negative camber on the other side. I'm going to add about 1/8 of an inch of tow out in the front. I'm gonna max out the front camber and max out the front caster. And then we can see how much steering angle we got. Camber is adjusted, caster is adjusted. Still only have 2.5 degrees of camber maxed out, but oh well. We have a lot of tow in. I mean, a lot. So, yeah. There's a little bit too much tow out. Gotta do very little adjustments. All right, that was a little too much. All right, we're gonna call it there. It's got just a little bit of toe out. So the alignment is done. You probably can't tell much of a difference just by looking at it because, well, we only added 1 degree of negative camber in the front, removed 2 degrees of negative camber in the back, and added a little bit of toe out in the front. But with the added caster, the added toe out in the front, it should have a really nice turn in and it should self-steer really well. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now, raise the car on the lift, tie in all the bolts, and just do a general bolt check after our drift event last weekend, or yesterday. And then we'll take it for a spin, see how she feels. Steering angle test. So we have about 35 degrees of steering angle. It's really not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. All right, let's get this thing off these alignment blocks. Steering wheel straight, and I'm going straight. I was a little worried that the steering wheel wasn't aligned. Seems like it is. It's going straight. Turn-in does feel a little bit better, actually. It feels different. It feels very kind of touchy, but I guess that's good because it's got a lot of turn-in and whatnot. Okay. I know with all this positive caster, my wheel is very close to the fender. When I'm at full lock, it's like a little bit of distance, and that was when the car was in the air. It's not rubbing now, but when there's a little bit more load on the suspension, it might. It feels like the car's kind of like on its toes. It's ready to do whatever I want it to do. We're gonna call that a success. Car now has a drift-oriented alignment. A little bit less camber in the back, a little bit more camber in the front, and a little bit of toe out in the front. Still have a little bit more camber in the back than we'd like. And we still have a little bit less camber than we'd like in the front. With the added caster and camber, the inside wheel at full lock almost has 0 degrees of camber. It's got a little bit of positive camber, but it's much better than it was before. Before we did this alignment, when you were at full lock, the inside wheel was like way positive camber, and that's not good for traction and understeering, which I never had an issue with, but when I'm going faster, I might. So yeah, I can now do my own alignments at home, at garage, whenever I want to, so that's awesome. If any of you guys have any suggestions for improvements to this little alignment, DIY alignment system, please let me know. I know I definitely want to get some, like I said, some string on some jack stands so we can make sure that the toe is in line with the car and not just in line with itself. But yeah, the car's driving great. Fixed the axle, which hasn't popped out again. I was afraid that it was just something was wrong with the diff and that it would just keep popping out, but hasn't popped out yet, so that's good. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, please give it a dislike and let me know why. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed yet again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. See you later.